We're back here on CBS Sports HQ where the NFL offseason is in full swing. All NFL teams have officially kicked off spring workouts. That includes OTAs. We are around the corner from summer training camp as well. However, that does not mean that rosters are completely set for 2025 because moves can still happen as the post-June 1st deadline looms. So what is actually the post-June 1st deadline? Well, it means that a team can release a player on or after June 2nd, and this will help the team spread the player's remaining contract costs, that dead cap that you hear us refer to, over 2 years instead of one, helping a team with immediate savings. So take a look at this. If some of these big names like Jaire Alexander, Jaylen Ramsey, Kirk Cousins are moved after June 1st, it could save their teams a lot of money. Picking on the Falcons here, they traded Cousins after June 1st. They can save $27.5 million. Actually insane to think about. So for much more ahead of tomorrow's roster deadline, let's go ahead and welcome in our own Tyler Sullivan for more. Tyler, one of the most rumored post-June 1st moves that we've been talking about for weeks could be the Falcons moving on from Kirk Cousins, either via trade or simply just releasing him. For the Falcons, it kind of makes a ton of sense, but to spin this forward, the Steelers still seem to be unclear of what Aaron Rodgers plans to do. Are the Steelers the team that should be doing their due diligence on Kirk Cousins as a potential quarterback this upcoming season?
Absolutely, Jordan. This is a team that it makes so much sense to be a landing spot for Kirk Cousins because if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, you have to remember you're talking about OTAs. Minicamp for the Pittsburgh Steelers opens up in 10 days. And right now, Mason Rudolph is their week 1 starting quarterback. He's probably going to take those first team reps. That doesn't do you any good to prepare yourself for the regular season, to prepare yourself for training camp when you're what we hope to be, the Pittsburgh Steelers hope to be, starting quarterback and Aaron Rodgers, not even on the roster, doesn't even feel like he's a blip on the radar right now. So if you are the Steelers and a player like Kirk Cousins, who would be a clear upgrade from what you have currently in your quarterback room, becomes available, they should absolutely pursue this. You could even make the case that Kirk Cousins is a better option than Aaron Rodgers right now, strictly when you're talking about football. Last season, Kirk Cousins had a better yards per pass attempt, passing yards per game, completion percentage better than Aaron Rodgers. And if we're talking about buy-in from Mike Tomlin's team, I feel like Kirk Cousins would buy in. Clearly wants to be a starting quarterback in the NFL. This would be his last shot. Makes a lot of sense. Aaron Rodgers, you don't necessarily know what you're going to get from him on a week-in and week-out basis. Not someone that I would want to hitch my wagon to. I would feel much more comfortable if it were Kirk Cousins, if I'm Mike Tomlin and the Steelers.
Yeah, it seems that Kirk Cousins is the contingency plan here for the Steelers, but an expensive one as well. One player who is actively being shopped and expected to move is Jaylen Ramsey from the Miami Dolphins. The Rams, Cowboys, Falcons were teams that reportedly were in the mix there. But where do you feel he fits best?
Yeah, I'll give you 2 teams because one, I just really like it, but it doesn't really make a lot of sense. The other one makes a ton of sense. The first one is the Washington Commanders. That team, to me, has loaded up all offseason. They bring in Laramie Tunsil on the offensive line. They bring in Deebo Samuel. Let's help out the defense a little bit more, especially when you're in a division where you're going up against a ton of receiver duos, whether it's George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. Adding a guy like Jaylen Ramsey to that secondary would push you even further to get over the hump. And again, you have your quarterback on a rookie deal in Jaden Daniels, which can allow you a little bit more flexibility. Now, the reason why I don't think that one's realistic is because the Commanders really don't have a lot of assets. They have 5 first-round picks next season, the majority of them on day 3, so I don't really see an avenue for a trade like that to go down. The team that I think makes a world of sense is the Cincinnati Bengals. That team, to me, clearly needs an upgrade defensively. Of course, the offseason storylines were that they were able to retain Jamar Chase and T. Higgins to massive extensions. But what was the reason they missed the playoffs last year? It was a poor start, poor play on the defensive side of the ball. They surrendered the 4th most passing touchdowns during the regular season a year ago. They need to really revamp this defense. We don't know the status of Trey Hendrickson, but again, if you want to fix that secondary, Jaylen Ramsey could be an option.
All right, we'll see where he ends up. I do love that you brought up the Washington Commanders there, but unfortunately it seems like a little bit of a pipe dream for that to come to fruition. Another player who could be on the move, Packers cornerback, I mentioned him, Jaire Alexander. He was reportedly in discussions with Green Bay to renegotiate his deal, but given his history, do you see a world where the Packers move on here?
Yeah, I don't. I think the further this goes along, the more likely it is he stays with the Green Bay Packers. There was a story this week, Xavier McKinney, part of that secondary for Green Bay, talking about how he feels like it's going to be fine. He wants him back in Green Bay. Obviously, he's got to let the situation play out. But overall, hopes that he has his running mate in the secondary back. They were able to bring in Nate Hobbs in free agency, so they have pieces there if they were to lose Jaire Alexander. But if you're the Green Bay Packers and he is willing to renegotiate his deal to make it a little bit more palatable, I think it makes sense to keep him at Lambeau Field. Of course, like I said, you have McKinney, you have Nate Hobbs, so you don't necessarily need to put all your eggs in the Jaire Alexander basket, especially for a player that's played 7 games in each of the last 2 seasons. But you are now in a division where, very similar to what we were talking about with the Commanders, where there is a high-flying offense, a ton of wide receivers, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamison Williams in Detroit. You have Roma Dunze, Luther Burden, DJ Moore in Chicago, of course, Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison in Minnesota. You need all the help you can get to compete in that division against those really just unbelievable wide receiver pairings. So to have Jaire Alexander as a part of that. Now, again, we have questions about how he can be available and his durability, but they have players in that secondary. He would be a nice cherry on top if they're able to make this contract restructure work out.
Yeah, big if there. We will wait and see where some of these big names land, if at all, as the deadline for the roster looms. Tyler Sullivan, always great to see you, my friend. You can see where some of these names play next season right here on CBS Sports HQ, because we have all the NFL news, all the NFL highlights, the scores, of course, when the season begins. It's all here. It's all free. CBS Sports HQ.